Hi there, I'm Everett O'Keefe with Ignite Press, and here we are. I'm today bringing to you a couple that I've been wanting to bring to you for quite a while, and a story that I'm really excited to hear shared on this channel. Um, we have the opportunity to publish a fair number of books from some really great authors here at Ignite Press, but this story is really special. So I'm going to bring on Jeff and Tricia Bradford. They are the authors of the new book releasing today, Beauty from Ashes, a Christian couple's journey from abortion to redemption. And hold on your seats. I don't know if you're going to need tissues, but this is going to be a great interview. So let's bring on Jeff and Tricia now. Hey guys, good to see you both.
Hey, Everett. Good to see you.
Thank
So
you.
you both look terrific, and today is a big day. You have poured your heart and your soul into this amazing book, and today it is live, and today is the big launch. I've got to think it's a weird kind of moment because you are, on the one hand, you celebrate the launch of a book, and at the same time, you're sharing a really sensitive story to a whole lot of people. Let's get into this a little bit. So, Jeff, let me start with you. I would love for you to share for our viewers today a bit of your story. And by the way, if anyone's watching this, feel free to use the comment log to say hi, cheer them on, ask questions, etc. And I'll try to feed any of your comments or questions to Jeff and Tricia as we go. So go ahead and Jeff, share with us the story. Let's find out how you started to get to where you are today.
Yes, we need lots of cheering on. This was, as you mentioned, this was a story that we didn't tell. We didn't want to tell. In fact, we hid it for almost 2 decades. Too ashamed of our story to share it with anyone. And it really wasn't until a year ago that Jason Law, our communications director at Human Coalition, asked me about sharing the story. And, as I began to work at Human Coalition, I slowly began to tell my story and our story to people at galas and small events. And it was really hard to tell. It always brought emotion to me. There was always a sense of just pain that came along with sharing our story. And there was a lot of pain that started 32 years ago. We were engaged to be married, and we got pregnant. Tricia and I met when she was just 19, and we fell in love very quickly, and dated a short while and got married really within about a year. And so during our wedding engagement, we got pregnant and went to my father, who I grew up with. My dad and my mom divorced when I was about 10 years old. And my sister and I ended up living with my dad. And I had a wonderful relationship with my dad. He was a good man. And I would say both Tricia and I would say that we grew up in Christian homes, although they were cultural Christian homes. I mean, for us, it was holidays and when I was down with my grandparents in Texas, and but would have considered ourselves Christians. And yet, when this came up, my dad really, I think, because of the divorce, pointed us to abortion. And within a few days of finding out that we were pregnant, we ended up at Planned Parenthood and took the life of our first daughter. And Everett, we didn't talk about it for 17 years. Although we led, after our first son was born, we really dove back into the Lord and began to make him the Lord of our lives. And Tricia, as I mentioned to you, is a worship leader. She's an amazing singer and led worship for 8 or 9 years. I was the lay pastor, and we helped lead and grow and build a church. And in 2010, through a tsunami of things, I mean, I think everybody can remember 2008 and 9, the recession, the church went through a really difficult time. It ended up splitting. And my wife and I found ourselves really struggling. Our marriage was struggling. I was working 60 to 80 hours a week in business. We gave so much away in our ministry, and we felt like we had neglected each other. And we ended up at Christian counseling. And during our counseling, that first day, we closed the door to the office, and Tricia began to cry like I'd never seen her before. And as we got underneath those tears, we realized it all came down to the abortion.
Yeah, the weight of just the secret that we had of this abortion had really started to take its toll. And so landing in Christian counseling that day was really just a miracle that we needed, that the Lord orchestrated and wanted to bring healing. We, like Jeff said, we were going, 90 miles per hour, 60 to 80 hours per week, working, raising children, leading in the church and running our own businesses. And it was a lot. And the Lord got us into counseling, and truly was a miracle. And we really just saw how this abortion and hiding it for so long brought a lot of guilt and shame. But the Lord was ready to just open up our eyes and open up our heart and let the healing begin.
Yeah, and like if anybody's ever been through marriage counseling, it tends to get harder before it gets easier, and it certainly was that for us. We went through a really difficult time, and when we realized that all the pain that Tricia was expressing that first day came down to that abortion, we really began to dive into it. And it was the first time for me as a Christian husband and father that I began to see the impact of the devastation of the abortion that it had on Tricia, but also as me, as a husband and a father, and as a man. And Tricia went through abortion healing. And that was really the beginning of some of the healing that you went through. And by God's grace, that same week that we were going through Christian counseling, two of the co-founders of Human Coalition had just kind of started this as an idea and an all-volunteer effort, handed me a card and said, "Hey, we save babies from abortion using the internet," and began to explain the work that they were doing. And I love these guys were business guys and use science and data and technology and stuff that I had used in my previous manufacturing business as well as in consulting. And I was intrigued, and obviously God was doing something. I remember, them handing me a card, and it originally was called Online for Life. And I remember looking at that and just shaking my head and saying, "Lord, what are you doing?" And that began my healing process of really diving into this work together. And as Tricia went through her healing of surrendering the secret, I began to help at what is now Human Coalition. And that in of itself is an amazing story.
And I want to get into that. I'm just thinking of this time that you guys were going through, and starting in the counseling, it's like you tearing these, tear a scab off there, and I can't imagine the stresses that must have gone on. And Jeff, I'm guessing you probably were kind of blindsided. Like was this, you didn't know the impact it had been having before Tricia kind of laid it out there. Is that the way it was?
Yeah, no, it was a huge surprise. And I think for both of us, just to a large extent, I mean, that it really came out that first day in counseling. I think we had moments in the previous 17 years and where I had dealt with it with some of my best friends from high school on a hiking trip. And I came back to Tricia and said, "Hey, I dealt with this and it was so hard and I want to share it with you." but at that time, Tricia just really wasn't ready to really dive into it.
Well, that's because I had loads of laundry that I was folding
Yeah.
while he was off climbing the mountains. I
Yeah.
was, folding laundry, a mountain of laundry. So he came back and he's like, "Hey, I'm ready to share." And I'm thinking, "Oh, okay. I'm not quite there, but."
Wow.
Yeah. And so we didn't bring it up again after that. And so we never really dove into it personally. And part of that is just because of the amount of pain that it brings up of realizing that because of me, we took the life of our first daughter. And that's nothing that you can ever get back. And it's not something you want to talk about. And that's partly, why writing this book was so hard.
I as a father of a daughter, you just struck a tone, struck a note with me, obviously. So let's talk about. Actually, there's a great question that someone posed here that I think is perfect segue right here. Mike asked, "What have you learned that you want readers to understand now, and not suffer like you and Tricia did for so many years?"
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, there's so much. I mean, there's so much in this book of really 2 years of lessons that we've learned, being Christian leaders, being husband and wife, and mothers and fathers, and so there was so much that we learned through these lessons. But I think for me, and we talk about in the very first chapter, Hosea 4:6, that my people perish from a lack of wisdom and understanding and knowledge. We certainly, as young people, didn't have the knowledge of the Lord, and we didn't realize the consequences of our actions. We thought, and we remember talking about it, we're just going to go to Planned Parenthood, and this will be over, and we'll get back to the wedding, and everything is going to be okay. And 32 years later.
Yeah, not everything is just hunky-dory like
that's right.
You've been told. I was really touched by your story. Like when you guys hit that decision point, and you found out that you were pregnant, you didn't expect that. You were both, I think, you were people of faith, and the thing you didn't, and you're in this spot of, oh my gosh, what has happened? And I first applaud you because the first thing you tried to do was seek wisdom, right? You chose to seek wisdom. You both selected someone that you thought would give wise counsel, and but the challenge is he was so beat up as well through his experiences, and I remember there's the portion in your book where your father is so worried about you ending up in divorce that he's like, boy, I the most cautious path to take, I think, would be, for you to have an abortion. And so that you sought wisdom, but it was hard to find. And so let's transition this to Human Coalition, because I think that this is really key. Let's talk about that. How did this end up? Like you were in contact with this organization that's not quite what it is today, and tell us this story. Tell us the story of Human Coalition.
Well, by God's grace, the same week we were in counseling, I had started a consulting business, and some of my clients that I'd gotten to know handed me their card and said, "Hey, we save babies from abortion using the internet." And because of what we had just been through, I was intrigued, and I knew God was doing something, and I began to really look at what they were doing, and it was amazing. And I really felt compelled to help. I remember not purposefully, but within a few weeks of getting to know about their work, I had watched Schindler's List. I remember the end of that movie where he's looking at his ring and saying, I could have saved one more. I could have done more. And I watched that same week the movie about Wilberforce, Amazing Grace. And I was just so convicted of saying, gosh, I want to do something to help. And so I ended up taking a sabbatical from my consulting business and said that I would help raise $1 million in 90 days. So I said, I can take off 3 months. I'm going to help you guys raise $1 million. And then I'm going back to work. And we did. And we had such a compelling story to tell, the story of Human Coalition and using the internet and technology and all of our business practices, reaching women who are online searching for an abortion and bringing them into a system of care. And I thought, man, this is a no-brainer. And so we went around every house in Dallas, anybody that would invite us in. And 90 days later, we raised $14,000. So we were a little short of our $1 million goal. And being a finance major, I know how important zeros are, and it made a huge difference. So. But by God's grace, he got us on our knees, and we began praying every Saturday morning and doing the work. We had all volunteer effort. We all had full-time jobs. We were doing it on night and weekends. And about 9 months later, we were out of money. We had $7,000 left in the Online for Life bank, and we said, Lord, you got to show up. I was driving to Houston for my oldest son Jackson's soccer game, and we were praying about the Lord showing up. And that next week, we got a call from a family in Texas who had heard about a group of business guys doing pro-life work. And we got in contact with them. They invited us down to a little small town just west of Fort Worth. And we shared with them our vision, our business plan. And they called back a week later, and they asked a ton of questions. We had a $3.4 million plan that went from an all-volunteer effort to a full-time national ministry. And they called back and said, we want to fund your first 2 years.
Wow.
And they gave $3.4 million over 2 years to start Human Coalition. And so 3 of us on TV trays and laptops in a living room started what is now Human Coalition, one of the largest pro-life, pro-woman organizations in the country. And God showed up in just this amazing way, and he has continued to show up at Human Coalition. And we have over 260 employees today. We have an amazing staff that step in the gap every day for men and women, mainly women, who are searching for an abortion. And they Google Abortion Dallas, and they get to talk with a loving, caring contact center agent and nurse and begin a process of empowering a woman to choose life. And we have over 7,000 organizations that we've curated that can provide really the help and hope that they need to be a mom. And 76% of the moms who believe abortion is their only option will tell us that they would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different. I mean, doesn't that break your heart to think about? It's not what we see on the news that every woman wants to have an abortion. No, 76% of these women who believe, the ones that are heading to Planned Parenthood, believe that abortion is their only option, but 76% would prefer to parent if somebody stepped in the gap. And that's what's so amazing for Tricia and I to be a part of, that we get to step in the gap and be a part of an organization. And so, the nurses and the contact center agents and the clinic directors, they do that work every day. And that's what is so amazing for us to be a part of, because we wish somebody had done that for us. And if so, we'd have a 32-year-old little girl with us today.
Thank you for sharing both your personal story and the story of Human Coalition and what you guys are doing, because it is a sacred trust. It is a sacred mission that you guys are on. Let me take just a brief commercial break to ask people to go buy the book. Beauty from Ashes is available now on Amazon, where you can pick up the Kindles on a special launch price of 99 cents. And the paperback is available there as well. This is a fantastic book. And I found myself wanting to just keep going, and please pick this up for you, pick this up for other people. This really is terrific. Now, Tricia, I've got a question I want to bring to you that came in from the online audience here. Let's go to it. Where it was just right here. Gosh darn it. And there was, here it is from Robin. She says, what would you say today to a post-abortive woman in crisis? And thank you for sharing your story to glorify the Lord and his work that he's doing through you. So what would you say today to a post-abortive woman in crisis?
I think it's really important that and even for your audience to know that any woman who was post-abortive, really, I would encourage to reach out for help, to Christian counseling, reach out to your women's ministry at your church, but reach out, use your voice, and start your story. Open up your heart.
Yeah.
And let the healing begin. Don't try to do it on your own.
Yeah. Now, it was also asked if you could talk about the significance of the title of Beauty from Ashes.
Yeah.
I remember some of this discussion, but I want you to share it.
Well, it is our story. I mean, it takes something that was meant for evil, meant to destroy us. And, one of the chapters we talk about is the passion of perseverance, of grit, of sticking with something that is good and lovely and pure. And there are so many times over the last 32 years that we could have walked away from each other. We could have said this was too hard. And yet, because we knew the Lord, because we continued to stay together, the Lord's done amazing things. And I think it's just realizing that God will use us, even those that are so broken, even those that have stories like ours, to do amazing things and take something that was meant for evil and use it for his good and glory. And so it is the embodiment of our story. And so many, we all have stories. Everyone on, this video today has a story that's listening today.
And it is hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. I mean, we have tears every time we do one of these. There's tears because, it is hard. It's painful. But nothing good comes from, doing easy things, nothing beautiful. And so, just continue to encourage those that do have abortion in their past. We want to continue to encourage each other, as hard as this is, but it's just so important that we share our story because abortion is horrific. And there's just so many people suffering in silence because of it. And we want to give them a voice. We want to encourage them to come forward and begin their story.
That's right. And Everett, just to add, those that are married and those that haven't gotten married yet, continuing to press through the hard times and taking those trials and getting stronger and stronger. And it only gets better. When you go through trials and you continue to work through those, there's beauty that comes out of that, and your marriage gets stronger, and it's worth fighting for. It's worth saying, hey, the grass isn't greener somewhere else. And so we've learned that it's about both of us. We have to continue to fight for each other and fight for our family, because the Lord is good, and he will continue to take all of the things, all of our brokenness, and turn it into beauty and glorify him. And I think that's what this book really is about.
You just reminded me of something. A friend of mine was going through a divorce, and he was had to be subjected to some sort of a personality profile evaluation or something like that. And I was asked to come in as a close friend to answer some questions for the psychiatrist and or psychologist, I don't remember. But it was very interesting. After we were done talking, the psychiatrist or psychologist pulled me aside, and he said, he says, people think divorce is the easy way out. They're like, this is hard. What I'm going through is hard. Divorce must be easier. He said, divorce is so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, people think it's, like you said, the grass is greener, but they say it's so much harder. And if they only knew how much harder it was, maybe they would make their marriage work. And I have to think that some of that exact same thinking goes through people's minds when it comes to abortion. It's the oh, I'm in a tough spot. This is horrible. What can we do? And that must be easier. That other door must be the door to take. Not knowing at all the long term, what they're going to feel 30 plus years later. And I think this is one of the reasons I applaud you. And somebody here had asked, what compelled you to tell your story so visibly? What compelled you to go from secret that nobody knew about to let's tell the whole world?
Mm-hmm.
And I think
I think we all know the answer to that, and that's the Lord. I mean, that's our relationship with our Lord Jesus, who he's amazing. He does amazing work in and through us and encourages us, but also just gives us the boldness and the willingness to share. Because there's so many, we know the numbers. We know the numbers of how many abortions happen every year. And so we know the numbers of people that are hurting. And again, just suffering in silence. And so, the Lord is about doing a mighty work and reaching, these women and men that abortion they thought was a good option. And we're betrayed because we have a country that legalizes it, and they think it's it's a real option, but it is just pro-death. At the end of the day, that's what it is. And so,
yeah, I think we wanted everyone to understand there is so much power in our testimonies and understand the power in healing and reconciliation and redemption, and what we can do as Christians if we all are healed and we live our testimonies and we glorify God through it. How many others will come around and seek healing and say it's okay? And we hope that others will learn from our mistakes, that they won't have to go through what we went through, and that they will choose life, and that they will be empowered, and they'll have a community that can come around us. And so we're grateful that Human Coalition does that. And we hope to share that with others so that we can provide the help and hope that they might need.
Excellent. Jeff and Tricia, if somebody wants to find out more about Human Coalition, or is in a decision point right now, or is suffering from post-abortive, how do they get a hold of the organization?
Well, certainly our website at humancoalition.org is our website. We reach thousands of women a day online. And so women that are Googling abortion near them will find our ads and click on those and talk to one of our nurses online. So there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. And then for the book, we have a landing page, beautyfromashesbook.com, if someone is interested in the book.
Excellent. And I'm putting that in the chat log for us as well. Okay, excellent. Thank you so much, both of you, for your time. There are more questions coming in than we have time to address, which is a great sign. But thank you both for taking the time to share your story. And in this case, share it in such a enduring way. I think it's a fantastic book. I'm excited to see the lives that are changed through it. And both of you, thank you so much for sharing your story here.
Thank you for being a part of it. We're grateful for you guys.
An honor, truly an honor to be part of it. So,
thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us on our live cast. Again, please don't forget to pick up your copy of the book. It is available now on Amazon, where the paperback is there. The Kindle is also there, and it's on a special launch price of 99 cents, at least for today. And I recommend that you pick this up and read it. And quite honestly, this is poignant and pertinent and appropriate to everybody, whether you have been faced with this decision before, or by the grace of God, didn't have to face this decision before. The truth is that you know people who are going through this and will know others who will go through this. And I think this is a book to get out there and the word to get out. So please grab your copy of that today. Thank you again for joining us. And if we can ever be of service to you here at Ignite Press, you can find us at ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. If you have a book in mind that you've been working on, or just an idea, give us a call. I'd be happy to sit down with you and have that consultation. So thank you very much for joining us today, and God bless.